Alright, so I walked about, I don't know, 30-40 yards in the woods, and I found my first snake already. It's kind of an odd situation to find this one. It's a little Decay's brown snake, which is Storaria decayi. Most of the time when you see these, they're flip these underneath, hiding underneath stuff. This little guy's hanging out on the branch over his own little pond here. But I guess you can see him. He's on that little stick. I thought he was a vine when I first saw him. But yeah, that's a harmless Decay's brown snake. They eat small invertebrates and slugs and things. You find these around houses a lot. I think I had one in a video a few months ago, but non-venomous little snakes. They can look quite a bit like a garter snake in some cases. This particular one doesn't really, but there he is. I don't know if he's gonna let us get any closer. Let's see. These are little guys. They don't get very big. That's him, and you can see he just basically crapped all over me, but they'll also musk. Just a little guy. They get yeah, a little over a foot most of the time. They don't get very large. People see these and think they're baby snakes, but this one's young, but he's pretty close to being an adult. They get quite a bit larger than this, but they don't get large. Anyway, cool little snakes. You might rake them up around your house in the leaves, or find them hiding underneath stuff, and you should really just leave them alone, because all the pests that will eat your flowers or tomatoes or whatever, these guys will help thin those out. And I promise they're not a baby copperhead. They're not a ground rattler, whatever that is. These are their own thing, and they're not babies, and they're completely harmless. Now I'm going to take a couple pictures of him, and I'm going to put him back by his little private pool here in the middle of the poison ivy that I'm squatting in, and let him go about his way. There he is. Storaria decayi. Okay guys, me again. If you look right there, there's everybody's favorite rattlesnake, the timber rattlesnake. Looks like he's going to go back in that hole if I get any closer, but it's a Crotalus horridus, timber rattlesnake. They're native to a lot of the eastern and a little bit of the midwestern part of the U.S. On the decline in much of their population. I've gone over this a lot in another video or two, I think, but you know, people kill a lot of them, and habitat loss, etc. But these are cool snakes. They can get up to close to 6 feet long. Most of the adults are maybe 3 to 5, something like that. They can vary a lot in color, from kind of a gray or golden color all the way through brown to some that are almost solid black. Unfortunately, he's gonna hide, which makes me sad, but there he is. I don't want to bother you. People are afraid of rattlesnakes or any snake, afraid to get close to them at all, but this is about as much as they'll do. They'll If you get them backed into a corner, they'll stand their ground and strike at you. Or if they have a chance, they'll do exactly what this one is doing and back away up into some cover. But I don't know. I can't. Unfortunately, the lighting is terrible. But anyway, like I said, everybody's favorite rattlesnake, the timber rattlesnake, and I absolutely love these things. If my wife wouldn't kill me, I would have one in my house. But cool snake. It's hard to see how big he is. I think he's over 3 feet probably. In timber rattlers, or I think most rattlesnakes, maybe all of them, males actually get larger, which is a trait you'll find in a lot of snakes that exhibit male-to-male combat during the breeding season. So the larger male usually wins, so they've evolved for the males to be bigger, whereas in a lot of other snakes and reptiles and birds, a lot of times the female is bigger, probably because making and laying a clutch of eggs takes a lot out of a body, so the larger you are, probably the better, the easier you can take that strain on your resources, your fat reserves or whatever. I wish we could see him a little better. I think you can probably hear him, but timber rattlesnake, I guess we'll let him go. Well, snake number 2 of the day. Flip this rock, and we have a black racer. It's a coluber constrictor. I've talked about these a lot in other videos. This one's kind of a brownish color. Actually, it looks like it's in shed. It's probably a lot darker normally. It's a pretty good size one. It's probably 4.5 feet long or so. You don't get a whole lot bigger. Usually a big adult's 5 feet, and they can get up to around 6, but don't often see them. I'm surprised he hasn't headed for the hills. I'm standing right over him. I'm going to try to put this rock back down. He's kind of in a depression there. And because he's in shed, I don't really want to disturb him. I've talked about him a lot. I don't want to run him out of his hiding spot. I'm sure he wants to stay here until he's done with the shed cycle. But like I've mentioned, these things will eat almost anything. Very fast snakes. Tend to be a little bitey if you pick them up. Let's see if I can put this down without him moving. Nope. Let's just let him get out from under there so we don't squish him. Now I can put the rock down. Alright guys, this is something that irritates me and most other serious herpers. You see that rock right there with the white side up? You can kind of see a muddy spot on it. And right there is a depression where it used to be. So obviously somebody flipped that over and didn't put it back. That's not good. If you want to come out here and look for snakes or herp as we call it, that's great, but you have to disturb the habitat as little as possible. And for you people that don't like snakes or you hate snakes, it's not just snakes, it's anything. The ecosystem works from the bottom up. These rocks have micro habitats under them, and it takes a while for that to develop and for animals to find them and make homes under them. And it starts with at the microscopic level and moves on up to bugs that the lizards eat, or it's a home for mice that the snakes or hawks or whatever. The ecosystem is all tied together. So if you're going to come out here and do this, just be careful and put the rocks back, or logs or whatever kind of cover back the way you found them, as close as possible. If there's I mean sometimes a rock might be huge and slide down a hill and there's nothing you can do about it, but for the most part you can put that back. And I've found a lot of them up and down this place I'm looking, and this is a fairly well-known timber rattlesnake habitat that is close to a relatively large city, and this is a fragile population. It's not a lot of land here. There's not a lot of snakes here. It's one of the few places anywhere around that you can come and find them. It's close, and this is the kind of stuff that destroys habitat and causes the snakes to move. But anyway, so I'll get off my soapbox, but if you're going to come out here, don't let me catch you doing this. Alright guys, I'm out here. I kind of stopped at a little place after work to do something else, but I thought I'd flip some tin while I was out here and see if I could find anything. I found this little eastern garter snake, which most people recognize. Kind of an underrated little snake because they're so common all across the country. The common garter snake is, which this is kind of a subspecies of. This is Thamnophis sertalis. The second sertalis being the eastern variety of common garter snake. These are harmless amphibian fish eaters. They'll even eat earthworms, other things like that. They'll occasionally take rodents, probably especially babies from the nest. Don't get very large. A 3-foot one is pretty big. They can get up to around 4 feet, but I've never seen one even pushing that. This one's maybe 2.5 feet when it's stretched out, and it's an adult female. They have quite a bit of size difference between the males and the females. Sexual dimorphism. The males probably are a third to maybe even half as big as the females. They tend to stay a lot smaller and be a little more slender. In our area, we have these in the Thamnophis genus. We have these eastern garters, and we have eastern ribbon snakes. I've talked about the differences between them before, but these are a little bit heavier bodied than the ribbon snakes. The ribbon snakes have kind of a white dot in front of their eye. It's really kind of a rectangle. These don't have that, and these garter snakes also have these vertical kind of dark bars on their upper lips that the ribbon snake does not have. But cool little snakes. They're completely harmless. They do have some pretty smelly musk. They're infamous for that, along with some of the water snakes. But as long as you give them some space, they're not going to musk on you, as long as you don't pick them up. And even if you do, it's just a little bit of a bad smell. They can bite, but it's not a big deal. Might get some little pin pricks, and most of them are fairly docile. They might be nippy at first, but really most people should just leave them alone. Let them continue to do their thing around your garden or wherever they happen to be. Just another harmless little snake in Alabama, one of the more common snakes throughout the country. Garter snakes can be really, really beautiful and variable, the different localities and subspecies. Some of them, some of the California versions can be have blue, where this one is yellow, blue and red. Even some of the eastern ones can have a lot of blue, and some of them can have red. It just depends on where you are. Most of ours tend to be similar to this. They can be a little more brightly colored. Some of them, where this one is checkered, is a little more solid colored. It looked like kind of a dark black stripe more than just the checkery panels down inside. But yeah, and there are versions that are more checked than this, or subspecies, species. I don't know a lot about the ones from other parts of the country, but ours here are generally pretty similar to this. But they're all very similar in habit and size, I guess. They're fairly similar snakes. But let's see, they don't lay eggs. They give live birth to a bunch of little cute baby garter snakes. So if you find them crawling around your yard, a bunch of tiny garter snakes, yeah, just leave them alone. They're probably just eating worms and stuff. But anyway, eastern garter snake. I'm gonna put this piece of tin back down on him and on her and let her go about her way. Alright, I've already flipped this piece of tin so I know what's here, but so you can see. Oh, didn't mean to bump the tin into him. There is a gray rat snake, Pantherophis phalloides. I've talked about these ad nauseum on my channel, but yeah, this is the gray rat snake. Can be another very common snake in Alabama. Probably other than the indigo snake, probably our largest snake. This one's maybe 4 feet, 4.5 feet. I find them up over 6. Records are over 8. There's different species. We're calling these the gray rat snakes now, that kind of are gray or midland, that kind of range up the middle of the eastern U.S. To the west of us, there's the western subspecies, or western species now, we're calling them. And on the far east, there's the eastern subspecies. But they're all very similar. They can, depending on where you are and which species, they can be a lot lighter gray than this, or they can be solid black, even kind of a yellow color with stripes. But I'm going to put his tin back and not disturb him too much. He looked like he was quite happy here before I came and woke up his slumber. But I'm going to put the tin back and get him back under there, because he doesn't need me messing with him. So there he is, gray rat snake. Get their name obviously because they do eat a lot of rats and rodents. Very beneficial to have around your home or farm. They'll also eat some birds and bird eggs, but great for rodent control. You can save some money on Cook's Pest Guy. You just let this guy live where he wants. Anyway, let's put his tin back and